So as we've had the opportunity to talk a little bit with Lisa, one of the practices that she shared was just gratitude and how she has developed this practice where she's recognizing the things that to be grateful for. And so in a day, it might be, if we suffer with allergies, it might be noticing that absence of that suffering, that restriction, noticing that we can breathe through our nose. Sometimes it's a really little gratitude. Maybe it's the way that a person interacted with us when we went to the store. Maybe it's that our outfit is just really banging today. So finding these points during the day where we can practice gratitude. Some people might use it as a journal practice at the end of the day where they might write in maybe in their phone in the notes section, or if they have some type of journal app, or if they are going to do a pen and paper, which is my practice to use pen and paper, to really just write a couple of things that they're grateful for in that day. And so we don't have to write it down, but it is helpful to write it down because it allows us to be a little bit more mindful throughout the day of what it is we want to make sure that we capture later on. So a lot of therapists recommend gratitude. And why do we always talk about gratitude? We always go on about practicing gratitude. It's because it works. So there's been a number of studies over the years that have shown how effective it is. One thing that we know is that the higher levels of gratitude a person experiences, the lower their levels of depression. We also know that, if you even were to practice 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, so we don't have to be perfect at this, right? We don't have to do it all 7 days. That if we were to practice that for at least 6 weeks, we can enhance our mental wellness and promote lasting changes in our perspective. Because now, instead of always looking at the deficit, like, today was rainy, it wasn't a good day. Oh, it was so hot. Like, our brain tends to focus in on the negative. So we have tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of thoughts a day. And for most people, 80% of those thoughts tend to be negative. And from a perspective of survival, when we were out in the wilderness and we didn't have shelters and things like that, we had to always be scanning for danger. Now we live in different environments. We don't need to always scan for danger. So our brain is it's set up in a way where we prioritize the negative. But we are evolved, really dope creatures, and we can change the way that our brain functions. And so practicing gratitude is one of the ways we can do that. Let's see, another powerful bonus of practicing gratitude is it helps to positively affect our biomarkers for heart disease. So it's physically helping your health in addition to helping your mental health. And also, keeping a gratitude journal can significantly drop your blood pressure. So if you're someone who is struggling with blood pressure, this is another tool that can aid in that fight. When we're writing in a journal, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're not at the point where you're ready to write in a journal, maybe it's just something you reflect on before as you're doing your nighttime routine, like as you're washing your face and brushing your teeth and getting ready for bed. It might be something you reflect on. If your memory is a little stronger than mine, it might be something that you reflect on when you're getting ready in the morning, what from the day before you're really grateful for. So figure out what might work for you. So part of being that girl is really an essential point of being emboldened. There's all kinds of pros and cons of, I wouldn't even say of being that girl. I mean, I see it mostly as pros, but if Ariel were with me right now, she might have some cons to being that girl. One of the ways that we might refer to this is that idea of being being delusional. And so this idea of being delusional of, thinking about or pretending as if you have the things that you want or the things that you need and being really confident. I don't think of that as delusional because I think that what we think about, what we embody becomes our reality. So I think of that as more of like a way to manifest, to walk into our truth. But I know some people think about that as being delusional. So if for you it's being delusional, practice it. I mean, as long as you're not doing anything that's harmful or hurtful to you or anyone else, really start to think really large about what you want. And part of being that girl is also not dimming your light. Other people might give us no's, but we don't need to say no to ourselves. And so how can we not minimize our worth, what we bring to the table? How can we really allow ourselves to be fully who we are Sometimes we might feel the need to minimize or dim our light to help other people feel more confident. Newsflash, that's not how it works. Other people aren't going to feel more confident because we're dimming our light. If they require us to dim our light for their well-being, then, that's a huge red flag. There's something really wrong about that because nobody needs to dim their lights for other people to shine. We all can shine. Recognizing that we're not going to minimize, we're not going to shrink. And if there are spaces and people who ask that of you, how can you adjust things so you spend less time with those people and in those spaces? Because they don't deserve you. Another piece of being that girl is instead of having that fear of being perceived, if I'm that girl, then all eyes are going to be on me and they're going to be judging me, instead of kind of thinking in that very negative way, right? How can we be curious about what is causing me to want to not be perceived? Is this a trauma response from something that maybe has happened in a past relationship from my childhood? And that could be something that you explore with a qualified mental health professional. But most people are just not worried about us. And this is such a freeing realization. They just aren't. There's just a lot of things that are going on that most people are navigating. And so using up our time worrying about what others may or may not be thinking about us or how others are judging us is really a waste of our energy and time. I mean, we could be thinking about this for hours, and some people do. They ruminate, so they worry over and over again about, did I say the wrong thing? And it's one thing to maybe have a moment of like cringe, like, oh man, I could have worded that better, and kind of be able to laugh at ourselves and keep it moving and be like, okay, I'm going to do better in the future. That can be helpful. But when we start to just think about, oh my gosh, everyone saw, and what if it was recorded? And oh my gosh, what are they thinking about me now? We're going on and on. That really actually lowers our self-esteem, and it doesn't help us to do better. We're going to do worse. And so really recognizing most things are not about us. So not taking so many things personal and not being worried about things we have no control over. I don't have control over what's going on in someone's mind if they have a bias. Maybe my hair is styled in a way that like a teacher they hated was styled. And so they have a bias because of that. I can't do anything about that, nor do I care to. Okay, I got other more fun things I need to be worried about doing for me that I actually have control and impact over. So being comfortable in our own bodies, I think this is also really critical as people are dating and going on dates. A lot of times the question is, did that person like me? And the question really should be when we're going on a date and we're getting to know people is, do I like that person? Okay. Were they interesting? Were they fun? Were they listening to me? What is my nervous system? What does my body feel like when I'm with them? Does it feel better? Does it feel worse? These are the things that we want to bring to our awareness. We more want to be aware of how we are experiencing other people, what we're noticing, more so than trying to predict or read the mind of how others are experiencing us. So on that note, I just want to end with a little something for our cozy book nook. It's been a couple of podcasts since I've had a book. So 2 recommendations. Bretman Rock's book, You're That Bee. I'm just going to put a little trigger warning in there that book has a lot of traumatic things that happens to Bretman. That could be a little bit hard for some people to read. They might need to take a pause from that. But the book overall is just amazing. I mean, he really talks about what he has done to build his confidence, what he has done to become famous, his life story, how he's overcome some things. So I highly recommend it. You're That Bee. And then the other one I really recommend is Girl, Girl, Girl on Womanhood and Belonging in the Age of Black Girl Magic. And that's by Kenya Hunt. It's an incredible book, 5 stars, highly recommend it. So if you have an opportunity, please rent or check out those books from your local library, whether that's in person or a lot of your local libraries have a way to digitally check out books. So if you're not someone who likes to read, an audiobook may be for you, and you don't have to spend a bunch of money with audiobooks for that. There are ways to rent that. And if you're interested in purchasing it, we do have a bookshop with Bookshop, and it's linked in our information for this episode. So as a reflection, I just want to invite everyone that is listening to really just kind of sit with, what do you want and not want? And even more importantly, how you will allow yourself to be treated when it comes to relationships, people that you're around, whether it's friends, whether it's coworkers, whether it's a romantic situation, if it's with family. Really just explore what you want, what you need, what you don't want, and how you will allow people to treat you. Because we really are always teaching people how they can treat us. And so if we allow them to walk all over us or to be judgmental or dismissive of us, that will continue. And if we don't allow that, and in the sense of not that we can change their behavior, right? Because we don't have control over other people's behavior, but we have control over if we're going to still say yes to these invitations. If we're going to pick up the phone when you reach out, when you slide in my DMs, am I going to respond to you? Because our energy is limited and it is positive, and it can remain positive as long as we're around others who are positive and pouring into us. And so there may be someone that's negative, but maybe the relationship is so important to you that you're willing to tolerate a little bit of their negativity, but you really don't have the energy to tolerate anyone else's negativity. And so that's a delicate dance that we do. You decide what works for you and honor that.